Pinhead, the poster child for piercings gone wild, presents a severe case of body modification addiction. At what point do you look in the mirror and think, you know what this outfit needs? More nails in my skull. His constant crossing between dimensions suggests a profound confusion about boundaries, both metaphysical and personal. It's okay to stay in your lane, Pinhead. Hell has enough problems without you popping up here every time someone solves a puzzle box. The fixation on chains, leather, and torture devices points to a serious case of BDSM overdose. There's exploring your kinks, and then there's whatever this is. Safe words exist for a reason, you know. Diagnosis: extreme body modification addiction, dimensional boundary confusion, and chronic BDSM overdose. Recommended treatment: body acceptance therapy to address the need for extreme modifications, a crash course in dimensional etiquette, and perhaps a few sessions on the importance of consent in all relationships, interdimensional or otherwise. Also, maybe a nice hobby that doesn't involve puzzle boxes or chains. Leatherface, oh Leatherface. Where to begin? The devotion to his cannibalistic family suggests a severe case of codependency. It's great to be close to your relatives, but maybe draw the line at wearing other people's relatives? The habit of wearing victims' faces indicates a profound confusion about his own identity. Has he considered less gruesome forms of cosplay? Comic-Con is a thing, you know. The chainsaw obsession points to some serious power tool fixation. There are safer hobbies out there, buddy. Have you tried woodworking? All the fun of a chainsaw, but with 100% less human victims. Diagnosis: extreme family codependency, dermatological identity confusion, and power tool fixation. Recommended treatment: family therapy, with a focus on healthy boundaries, a crash course in dermatology to understand why wearing other people's skin is a no-no, and vocational training in a field that doesn't involve power tools. Maybe floristry. John Kramer, aka Jigsaw, presents a severe case of what I like to call morality enforcement syndrome. His fixation on teaching life lessons through elaborate death traps suggests he might have taken that saying, "Those who can't do, teach," a bit too far. The terminal cancer diagnosis seems to have triggered a God complex of epic proportions. Newsflash: John, forcing people to mutilate themselves isn't exactly chicken soup for the soul. His addiction to overly complicated traps and devices points to a serious Rube Goldberg fixation. Has he considered channeling this creative energy into something less murdery? Maybe designing escape rooms that don't actually kill people? Diagnosis: extreme morality enforcement syndrome, terminal diagnosis denial, and Rube Goldberg device addiction. Recommended treatment: ethics classes, with a focus on why murder is bad, cancer support groups, and a hobby that doesn't involve human suffering. Chucky's case is a textbook example of a Napoleon complex gone haywire. His small stature has clearly led to some oversized aggression issues. It's not the size of the doll in the fight, it's the size of the fight in the doll. Ironically, for a doll, Chucky seems to suffer from pediophobia, a fear of dolls. Why else would he be so desperate to escape his plastic prison? Talk about self-loathing. The constant need to possess human bodies suggests an addiction to the possession process itself. It's like body hopping is his own personal brand of metaphysical meth. Diagnosis: extreme Napoleon complex, pediophobia, and chronic possession addiction. Recommended treatment: height acceptance therapy, a support group for sentient toys, and a 12-step program for possession addiction. Also, maybe some anger management classes specifically tailored for tiny terrors. Ghostface isn't so much a single individual as a revolving door of movie-obsessed killers. This presents a unique diagnostic challenge. It's like if dissociative identity disorder had a fan club, and they all decided to wear the same Halloween costume. The obsession with horror movie trivia suggests a severe case of cinephilia gone wrong. It's one thing to be a film buff, it's another to turn your town into a real-life slasher flick. Maybe try starting a film club instead? The constant phone calls to victims indicate a serious telecommunications abuse problem. Haven't they heard of texting? It's like they're single-handedly trying to keep landlines relevant. Diagnosis: acute cinephilia with homicidal tendencies, multiple personality showcase syndrome, and telecommunications abuse disorder. Recommended treatment: group therapy for all past and potential Ghostface, a crash course in film criticism as a non-violent form of expression, and a strict phones-down policy during therapy sessions. Michael Myers. His fixation on his sister suggests a textbook case of sibling rivalry gone horribly, horribly wrong. Did his sister get the bigger piece of cake at a birthday party or something? The inability to remove his mask points to deep-seated insecurity and a fear of revealing his true self. Has he considered other forms of facial coverage? A nice balaclava, perhaps? His apparent immortality and ability to always catch up to running victims despite only walking suggests a severe addiction to cardio. It's great that he's staying in shape, but there are less murdery ways to get your steps in, Michael. Diagnosis: extreme sibling rivalry syndrome, mask-dependent personality disorder, and severe cardio addiction. Recommended treatment: family counseling, with a focus on conflict resolution without stabbing, gradual mask removal therapy, and redirecting that impressive stamina towards marathon running. Pennywise, or It, as it prefers to be called, pronouns are important, folks, presents a unique case of self-imposed coulrophilia, an intense attraction for clowns. The 27-year hibernation cycle suggests a severe metabolic disorder. Has it considered a more balanced sleep schedule? 8 hours a night does wonders for the complexion, even for interdimensional fear entities. The constant shape-shifting points to a deep-seated identity crisis. 1 minute you're a clown, the next you're a giant spider? Make up your mind. This level of indecision would give Hamlet a run for his money. Let's not even get started on the balloon fixation. I haven't seen this level of obsession since my nephew discovered bubble wrap. Diagnosis: extreme coulrophilia coupled with metabolic hibernation disorder, shape-shifting identity crisis, and chronic balloon dependency. Recommended treatment: career counseling, there are jobs outside the circus, you know, regular sleep clinic visits, and gradual balloon detox. Also, a stern talk about appropriate ways to make friends that don't involve lurking in sewers. Dr. Lecter presents a fascinating case of what I like to call gourmand personality disorder. His refined tastes extend beyond the realm of socially acceptable cuisine, venturing into the forbidden territory of long pig. It's like he took "you are what you eat" way too literally. His narcissistic tendencies are evident in his belief that he's intellectually superior to everyone else. Hey Hannibal, being able to identify someone's perfume doesn't make you a genius, it makes you a creepy human bloodhound. The fixation on Clarice Starling's scent suggests some deep-seated olfactory issues. Perhaps a childhood trauma involving a scratch-and-sniff book? Or maybe he just really needs to invest in a good air freshener. Diagnosis: gourmand personality disorder with anthropophagic tendencies, narcissistic personality disorder, and acute olfactory fixation. Recommended treatment: a strict vegan diet, volunteering at a pet shelter to develop empathy for living beings, and a few sessions with a speech therapist to work on that thing. Oh, Jason. Where do we begin? First off, that fear of water needs addressing. I get it. Drowning once can really put a damper on pool parties, but holding a grudge for this long? That's just not healthy, big guy. The attachment to his mother suggests arrested development, likely due to the trauma of his near-drowning experience and subsequent years of isolation. His choice of a hockey mask as a permanent accessory points to deep-seated insecurity and a desire to hide his true self. Has he considered other sports? Maybe badminton would be less threatening. The anger issues are obvious. Violently murdering every teenager who dares to have fun near your lake is a bit of an overreaction. Have you tried counting to 10? Or maybe yoga? I hear it does wonders for stress relief. Diagnosis: aquaphobia with maternal attachment issues, chronic mask dependency, and severe anger management problems. Recommended treatment: family therapy, that might be tricky with mom, swimming lessons with a patient instructor, and joining a local hockey team for some non-violent outlet for that pent-up aggression. Also, a good skincare routine wouldn't hurt. Poor Freddy seems to be suffering from a particularly nasty case of oneroid syndrome, a rare psychiatric condition characterized by dreamlike hallucinations. However, in Freddy's case, he's not just experiencing the hallucinations, he's the star of the show. His persistent need to invade others' dreams suggests a severe narcissistic personality disorder. I mean, who else would wear that striped sweater unironically? The burned appearance and knife fingers point to some serious body image issues, stemming from a traumatic past event. Have you tried moisturizer? Maybe some nice aloe vera for those burns? The constant quips and one-liners indicate a desperate need for attention and approval. Perhaps if his victims laughed at his jokes instead of screaming, he'd feel less inclined to turn their dreams into a slasher film. Diagnosis: severe oneroid syndrome with a side of pyromaniac tendencies and dermatological dysmorphia. Recommended treatment: intensive dream therapy, fire safety courses, and a strict no sharp objects policy. Also, maybe a guest spot on What Not to Wear for that sweater situation.